Good morning, everybody. I would like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which we're gathered and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting of the 20th of January 2026. And I declare this meeting open at 11:29. I'd like to advise attendees in the room this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. I'll now move on to leaves of absence. We have two today. And I believe we have one for Councillor Russell on the screen. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hall, do I have a seconder? Councillor Bradley, all those in favour? Councillors? And that has been carried unanimously. Thank you. We have one for Councillor Fraser. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hall, seconded by Mayor Raven. All those in favour? Has been carried unanimously. And I also note that Councillor Bannon is an apology. All right, previous committee meeting minutes. There is now a motion displayed on the screen to confirm the previous minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lane, do I have a seconder? Mayor Raven, all those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Declarations of conflict of interest. Do any councillors... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just put my hand up to provide an explanation for my vote. I abstained for the reason that I wasn't there.
Okay, no problem at all. I now refer to declarations of conflict of interest. Do any councillors wish to declare a conflict of interest today? Okay, there being none, I will now move on onto general business. Councillors, do we have any general business for the General Manager of Transform Logan and Advocacy, Ms. Bridget Rogan, up the back? No. Bridget, do you have anything for us? No? Wonderful. You enjoy the rest of your day. Do we have any general business for the Acting General Manager of Development Assessment, Mr. Martin Jones, who's also up the back? No. Martin, do you have anything for us? No? Wonderful. Enjoy your day. And last but not least, we have the Acting General Manager of Health, Environment and Sustainability, Mr. Trevor Knappy. Anyone have any GB for him? No? Trevor, do you have anything for us? No? Okay, wonderful. I'll enjoy your day. All right, councillors, we have 4 reports today and we'll begin with item 6.1, residual waste management. I note that 6.1 is a public report with a confidential PowerPoint presentation. Proposed resolution to move into confidential is displayed on the screen. Do any councillors wish to move in a closed session for this item? No? Okay. I will now then refer to the Acting Executive General Manager of Growth, Economy and Sustainability, Mr. Michael Asnakar, to please speak to this report, keeping in mind we're not in a closed session.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, councillors. Apologies. Thanks, Chair. Morning, councillors. I am limited in what I can say, given that the entirety of the report is confidential. So, given that, I'll just hand it back to you, Chair, for the next.
Thank you, Michael. So, do we have any questions? No? Okay. So, I believe we have a motion for the PowerPoint. Oh, we don't have to document because it wasn't shown, so that's fine. Is that correct? Yes? Okay. All right. We have a motion on the board. Do I have a mover? Mayor Raven, do I have a seconder? Councillor Murphy, all those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Wow, look at us moving along. Thank you. All right. I note that we now move on to item 6.2, Memorandum of Understanding with Griffith University. I note 6.2 is a public report and I will now ask the Manager of Economic Development, Mr. Tate Ryan, to please speak to the report.
Good morning, everyone. So, through the Chair, this report seeks endorsement for Council to enter into a 5-year non-binding MOU agreement with Griffith University. The MOU formalises our collaborative relationship and sets a framework for joint work across economic development, research, workforce planning, sustainability, and in other areas. it is as a non-binding 5-year agreement, there is very little risk to this agreement, and we have had similar MOUs in the past that have helped facilitate our relationship and growth together as a key institution within Logan. So happy to end there and ask if there's any questions.
Thank you, Tate. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, moving along. We have a motion on the board. Do I have a mover, please? Mayor Raven, do I have a seconder? Councillor Jackson, all those in favour? Okay, I might just go around the room if that's okay. Councillor Bradley, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Councillor Lane?
Abstain.
Councillor St Ledger?
For.
Councillor Jackson?
For.
Councillor Hall?
For.
Councillor Jeremiah?
For.
Mayor Raven?
For.
Councillor Wilcox?
For.
Councillor Murphy?
For.
And I'm also for. All right, thank you, councillors. We will now move on to, that's all been carried and that's fine. Yep, okay. I'll now move on to item 6.3, the Smart City Summit and Expo March 2026. I note 6.3 is a public report, and I'll now also hand over to Tate to please speak to this report.
Thank you, Chair, and through the Chair. Just briefly, this is the Smart City Summit and Expo travel approval that we are currently seeking. We have been invited to attend on behalf of the Taipei government, and we've had experience in the past of attending this event, which has proved to be a great experience for attendees and our relationship building with the Taipei government. The travel will occur between 17th and the 21st of March. Thank you.
Thank you, Tate. I have Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much. It's all good for a great experience. Can you outline what economic benefits occurred for Logan City Council as a result of previous travel to this event in particular?
Through the Chair, so our last visit was in 2019, prior to COVID. Firstly, I'll mention this is a heavily subsidised, very low cost to council invitation. I know that. But as far as engagement, it is a world-class event that is put on in terms of showcasing smart city technologies. I believe in the attachments there's a full list of the invitation itself, which has the multiple various companies and organisations. Previously, from those relationships, we have stayed in touch with various contacts, especially regarding various technologies that were proposed and considered by council. So from that, it's a consistent learning. We don't know everything that we're going to be taught on the trip. However, it is a great chance to stay on top of everything and see other governments. There's a wide range of mayors and councillors from other cities in attendance also, so there is also that positive engagement that can occur from city to city and municipal governments.
Madam Chair, is there a reason why you're not attending as a chair?
Councillor Lane, when it first came across my desk, there was very little information, and I personally didn't see the benefit from my point of view, but there is a lot more information that has been provided, and consequently I didn't realise that council had gone before either at that stage. So, like I said, wasn't for me. Happy for Councillor Jackson to attend.
Thanks. So we've got no historical benefits from it other than networking and seeing what they're doing. We've had no investment into Logan as a result of previous trips, but it's an experience and it's an opportunity to go with other councils to see what's going on.
For specific details of a business that has come off from the event, no, I can't speak to that. But as for the engagement and the learning that we've taken from those cities and brought and spread throughout council as knowledge, we bring back the various learnings and share them with the roads department or other branches across the city. In addition, for the last event, we also combined visits to our sister city with that one, which was a great opportunity at the time since we hadn't visited them in a long time. And yes, so we're always confident that as we'll go, there will be benefit from these world-class events.
Thanks, Tate.
Any further questions, councillors? Mayor Raven.
And we'll speak to it in the post-travel report for the Sister City mission, but probably the most valuable piece of technology that I saw on the Sister City mission was in Taiwan. I imagine that Councillor Jackson will see many more examples of technology that we're not currently using that would be cheap and easy to adapt and would either provide cost benefits or safety benefits. The prime example was around no longer using detector loops in roads, which is what they do in Taoyuan. They've switched to a completely visual AI system for managing traffic through heavily used intersections to optimise performance. That's one example from one city in one department. When you've got a whole bevy of cities coming together with all their departments showing off their best and brightest ideas, I'm confident that Councillor Jackson will be able to bring back some great opportunities.
Any further questions? Councillor Harriman.
Thank you, and I'm happy for you to take this on notice. It was Councillor Lane's question, but now I'm really trying to understand the answer. So in 2019, Council went to this series of events. Is that correct? You said 2019? Yes. So in 2019, Council went and experienced the event, and if I remember correctly, you said, number one, it gathered relationships that you've remained in touch, okay? And it looked at new products that might benefit the city, okay, with the tech companies that go to this event, okay? So with those relationships, the normal idea with these relationships and sister city deals is that there might be investment opportunities that come from those relationships, and one theory is that local government can help facilitate those relationships. From the 2019 visit, has there been any of those relationships that have sprouted into a positive investment for the city since?
Through the chair, from the 2019 event, there was a number of companies that we continue to follow up regarding their technologies, and that they were tested and considered, but over time, I don't believe any of those turned into a long-term relationship.
Okay, so from those relationships, that makes sense. And does that apply for the first side of what you mentioned about just gathering relationships that might sprout into something? And then the second proposed benefit of this trip is new products, exploring new products. Is it correct that you're saying none of the products from the 2019 trip solely have been adopted by council?
I'd have to take that on notice to just reconfirm that. I believe some were trialled or were deeply investigated, but I'd need to double check those outcomes.
Yeah, that would be good, because looking at some of the delegates and sponsors, things like Google, yeah, there's some of these big international brands there that have a presence in Brisbane. So hopefully we can get their presence to Logan, but it would be good to get a record of the tangible items that, if they exist, do come from these sort of trips. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. I have Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, through the chair. I've already given Councillor Jackson my thoughts on this, but I just want to ask a question. Historically, it's usually a senior councillor that goes on these trips overseas, whilst I may not principally agree with it. Who came up with the idea of Councillor Jackson to go on it?
That would be by delegation of the mayor.
Thank you.
Anything further? All right, councillors, we have a motion on the screen. Oh, sorry. Councillor St Ledger, sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. I personally couldn't think of a better councillor to send than Councillor Jackson. My personal opinion, his communication skills, his eye for detail, his ability to look outside the box, and I think he'll come back with some really beneficial information to help the city. So,
Thank you, Councillor St Ledger. Okay, we've got a motion on the screen. Do I have a mover? Councillor Murphy, seconder. Mayor Raven, all those in favour? Okay, so that's been carried with the exception of Councillor Brady. How do you vote?
Against.
Councillor Lane
Against.
and Councillor Hermeyer.
Against.
Thank you, councillors. Okay, last one. Item 6.4, Sister City Missions Post-Travel Report. I note that 6.4 is a public report, and I will now ask Tate to also speak to this one, please. Thank you.
Through the chair, this is an example of the reports of once we go on international travel or international missions, of the various reports and follow-up that we do after. So I'm happy to take this one as read or throw it to anyone who was in attendance across the councillors on these trips to speak to if they'd like to. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? No? Okay then, we'll just got a motion on the board. Do I have a mover? Oh, sorry, go Ken.
I was actually looking forward to hearing someone speak to these. Yes, please.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if councillors wanted an overview of the experience and what we learnt from it. The main thing so we did 2 sister cities at the same time, and my key observation out of this, and I don't think we've got any of the staff that I dragged around both Taiwan and Japan with me, but the key observation is that while I'm used to working 10 days straight without a break, normal people are not. So do not do a 10-day trip without taking a break. That was the key lesson that I learnt. I was happy to push through, but I noticed the toll that it took on everybody. That said, the visit to Taipei, Taichung, and Taoyuan was incredibly valuable. The key learning from me that I didn't fully understand is that the relationship that JPC has with different parts of the world is intense. We would go to all sorts of business forums, and people that had only shown up because they'd attended JPC and wanted to come and invest back in Logan because now their businesses are successful. I think off the top of my head, I can think of 5 or 6 very strong leads from affordable housing, recycling, renewable energy, who saw the opportunity of meeting the mayor and said, it's fantastic that the Mayor of Logan has come here. I went to high school in Logan. I want to invest back in Logan now that my business is successful, which is amazing. A lot of them travel between Southeast Queensland and Taiwan already, but their main focus is on Brisbane. So the biggest benefit of sending the Mayor to go and meet with these business owners is to say, hey, your relationship matters to us. Come and invest in our city instead of the capital. Because by default, everyone looks to Brisbane and the Gold Coast because they just assume that the opportunities are better there. And no one really understands exactly what's happening in Logan, even within Southeast Queensland, let alone across the world. So the opportunity to speak to those businesses and host those business forums was incredibly valuable, and that was completely outside the Sister City framework. That was just extra work that we did because I said, while we're overseas, let's get maximum bang for buck and maximum benefit. Our relationship with Taoyuan is a strong one and a good one, and 30 years ago, when we first became a sister city with Taoyuan, they're a much, much smaller city. They're a similar size to us, but they've gone through amalgamations as well. While we got up to 400,000, they're at 2.3 million. We still have a lot in common with them, despite their huge size. They are the fastest growing city in Taiwan. They are the most diverse city in Taiwan. And they also, thank you, and they're also very focused on a lot of the challenges that we're facing. Their massive growth means that their CBD is a complete gridlock, and they have huge safety issues on their roads. The most valuable piece of technology, which I referenced earlier, was when I attended their traffic management centre. They were showing us the AI technology, which is not new for them, so they've been using it since 2019. And now it's a very mature technology. They've completely moved away from using detector loops, which is, for councillors know, but for anyone who's watching at home, a detector loop is a piece of metal that's in the road that tells you whether or not a car is sitting above it. The busier the road, the more often this piece of technology fails. The busier the road, the more expensive it is to replace it, and the longer it takes to organise a contractor to do that. When they were asking, they said, do you use camera technology to manage your traffic lights? I said, no. They said, what do you use? I said, we still use detector loops. The whole room burst into laughter and said, do you also ride horses to work? So it just shows you that they are so far ahead in their mindset and their thinking about what they can do to improve the performance of the operations of their council in the interests of their residents. The clear point of similarity there is they said we cannot keep up with infrastructure based on our growth, which I know that councillors like Councillor Wilcox and Councillor Heremiah experience on a daily basis, as do many other councillors around the city. So acknowledging that you can't build infrastructure fast enough to keep up with the amount of people that are moving to their city, they're using technology to bridge that gap until the infrastructure can catch up, because they've just acknowledged it's unsafe and it's congested if they do nothing, and that's not a good enough situation. The relationship with Taiyuan is valuable because they're bigger than us, and so we can learn a lot from them because they're further along on a technology and a growth management pathway. They are a very different city though, and what I found fascinating, because obviously we were going through the flood mapping consultation at the same time, as I was constantly asking them, how do you manage flood mapping and how you manage flood? They have monsoons instead of heavy rain seasons, and in their CBD they actually have parks that are designed to be flood detention basins. So it's a park that for 99% of the year just looks like a normal park, but you notice that you walk down to it, there's slides going down into it, and there's all this infrastructure that's designed to be flood resilient. And all of the rooftop stormwater and all of the surface water runs into that park. That park drains out not to a river, but to the rice paddies, because they use the water for farming straight away afterwards. We don't have rice paddies in Logan, but we do have a river that we can release it to. The other observation I saw, which was similar in both Taiyuan and Hirakata when it came to flood management, was that you would see a tiny, tiny creek, something that's smaller than Slacks Creek, smaller than Scrubby Creek even, like it literally looked like something you could step over, with literally a 500-metre buffer on either side with absolutely nothing. There would be no buildings, there'd be no infrastructure, literally some rock, gravel and a bit of bushland. And I said, why do you have that? The Mayor of Hirakata was very clear. He said, our people have lived here for tens of thousands of years. Why would we build something right next to a river? We know it's going to get washed away. So it was this really clear message that they had solved flooding by not building next to the river. But as soon as they got to that 500-metre buffer, they had high rises. So they were very clear about where the extent of the river would get to in monsoons. And as soon as they got to that limit, they built around it and built density quite intensely. Hirakata was a very different experience to Taiyuan and to Taipei. The heat was the key difference, because Taipei has very limited shade, and the weather there is similar to Queensland, high humidity, lots of direct sun. It doesn't matter where you go, even when you're in the shade, the heat coming off the concrete, because there's very few street trees, was intense. And even the wind tunnels that they've created between the buildings, unless you're in a park or near a park, the wind is hot and it's not pleasant. And that's something that I think we really need to avoid, as a lesson by not doing what they've done with their CBDs and their built-up areas, because maintaining that that street trees and that greenery really makes a huge difference. And you notice that when you got to Hirakata, they were much more focused on blending the environment with the density they've got. Now, they're a completely different city to us. They have 400,000 people in a 65 square kilometre area. We have 400,000 people in nearly a 1,000 square kilometre area, so the density is massive. But you can see in these little townships that they have like shop tops, so they'll have 2 levels or 3 levels of shops and businesses, and then another 3 levels of units above that. And because everyone's in reasonably close proximity, even though that density didn't feel overwhelming, it's not like being in the CBD of Brisbane, where you've got 30, 40 metre skyscrapers and more. The economy functioned so well because everyone could walk to everything that they wanted to do. So you had restaurants, you had entertainment, you had schools, everything was within close proximity. And so you could see the benefits of density in Hirakata. Now for Hirakata, they were very big on sharing their culture, because obviously Japanese culture is a huge part of what they're very proud of. And they also are sharing, they look to us actually in the way that we look to Taiyuan to say, your 50-year planning is very smart, but they aren't planning for growth, they're planning for decline, because their population is ageing and they're getting less and less population over time. So they want to do 50-year planning in order to prepare for what services to switch off and what infrastructure to wind down, whereas we're doing the exact opposite, but they see a similarity and a value in sharing that information. The business relationships in Japan are complicated due to the protocols around who is allowed to approach businesses, and they have very clear lines where they don't feel that a government should ever directly approach a business because there's concerns around how that looks and whether it could be seen as corruption. So you always have to have an existing relationship with the business there, and we use businesses in Logan that had relationships with council for a long time or have a presence here in Logan and also have a presence in Japan to facilitate the meeting in Yokohama. That was an incredibly valuable meeting, and I suspect it'll bring us some investment, if not in baseball, then in manufacturing, because that was what their entire focus was around in that meeting, and trying to leverage off existing Japanese businesses, because Japanese investment can often be very conservative. They don't like to take big risks when they move into a new market, so they'd rather there be a big existing company like a Toyota or an Asahi, and come in under their umbrella and partner with them because they've already got an existing presence and relationship in our city, which is very exciting. So a lot of them were asking, what Japanese businesses do you have? And the team was great. They already had a list of those ready to go. And the presentations that I got very good at giving by the end, because they were hour-long presentations with very similar content, was really just educating people about what Logan had to offer and why you would come to Logan instead of another city in southeast Queensland. And that competitive advantage is huge for not just businesses, but for people who want to come here as international students, or who are making a choice, who already have family that are in Queensland and are making a choice about where they want to come and settle. Do they come and set up in Logan, or do they live somewhere else? And being able to promote the city and create those opportunities for investment, both residential and business, I think was incredibly valuable. I stayed longer than on day 10. I stayed longer than the rest of the delegation so that we could squeeze in one more meeting with the Japanese Baseball Association and Major League Baseball's Japanese counterpart, so that we could try and secure some investment into the stadium and some support for the stadium. They were very supportive. And then I flew back on Jetstar because it was quicker than flying back through Hong Kong on business class.
Wow, thank you, Mayor Raven. It's very comprehensive. Look, I'll just make a few comments too about... sorry, Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, through the chair. That was a very comprehensive summary of what actually happened. I'm just curious what will change in our city as a result of this, and what steps have been taken to change.
Already put our roads team in contact with Taiyuan's Transport Management Department to talk to them about what that technology looks like and how we could adapt it. I don't think we can use the exact same software just due to it's Taiwanese software. It's not Australian-based software, but it's definitely something we're investigating. We already have the cameras that they use. It's just about integrating the software into our system, so that's exciting. That's probably the clearest and simplest first step, Councillor Bradley. But the other ones are specifically our economic development team is engaging with those 30 or 40 different businesses who want to come and invest in Logan and trying to secure them the opportunities. The hardest part is finding them land, because even though some of them are dual citizens, they still struggle to be able to find land because it's just hard to buy land anywhere in southeast Queensland at the moment.
Thank you, Mayor Raven. I just want to make a comment about the Osaka trip I went on, because I think it's important to note that as well. There's a lot of information in there. But that began with a visit to the Queensland-Japan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I went to those events 18 months in a row, made great connections, and from there I found out obviously about the World Expo in Osaka. Went along with every other person in Osaka pretty much. It was the most people I've ever seen in my life. Humidity was off the charts. We're queuing in to get into the expo. There were 70 odd pavilions. Thank you to Trade Investment Queensland. I managed to get fast passes into quite a few of those. Otherwise, I would have been queuing up for up to 4 hours to get into pavilions. So I was very fortunate to be able to get into pavilions. The amount of people I spoke to, the amount of information sessions I attended, the amount of connections I've actually made is amazing. They've all invited us to go over to, Europe from one point or another. There's some amazing things happening over in the Nordics and over in China and over in Japan. I know, there was so much to learn. I'm planning on meeting with both Logan Water, again with Michael. I went to the waste facility in Osaka. That was amazing. I'm going to meet with Dave again, and just, there's a whole list of things I think as a council we could be exploring further and not inventing the wheel for now and in the future. I think that was the key to this. It was all about learning. It was about understanding what others are doing, what they've been doing for a long time, and how they're saving money, how they're saving time, and ultimately, you know, for the benefit of the community. So your thoughts as to whether this is the benefits? I saw major benefits, and if you want to sit down and have a chat to me, I could talk to you for hours about it, to be honest. So thank you. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. I've got one question for you,
Sure.
Councillor Stamp. So in your little spiel in here, you've got Osaka, Nagai Park in Osaka. It's divided into 3 main areas. Is that an old tip site that they've then converted into these things? Or what was
Not
it?
that I'm aware
Oh,
of.
okay.
The thing I saw about that was the main reason I went there was because they have this commercial side of things, I guess, and they're making really good money out of commercialising events and things in a park, which I think from our green park for the future, I think that's how they cover a lot of their costs. They also had the most amazing sporting facilities there. They had a really great skate park, which was there. And, you know, like you just sort of see these facilities and you just see people running around the park at night time, and it's just so fully utilised. So that was a great park in that respect, that it was so fully, and I'm there at 10 o'clock at night, and there were as many people in the park at 10 o'clock at night than there would have been in the day. So it had so many different facilities, ways to make money. It's just really interesting. You don't think about those sorts of things until you see them in other cities. So I think it was really beneficial. If there's nothing further, there is a motion on the board. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Murphy. All those in favour? It's been carried with the exception of Councillor Bradley. How do you vote?
Abstain.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So, councillors, do we have any general business for Tate in the absence of the General Manager of City Planning, Economic and Community Development, Mr Dave Radich? Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much for you, Madam Chair. Tate, the scooters are back. They're not a trial anymore, and can I say that the reaction from the group who are putting the scooters out has been quite good when we've lodged complaints about them. Seniors are still worried about them, and the general community is concerned when they're left in inappropriate places, but thank you very much to you and your team for following up on any complaints that have been raised. The second thing, Paul Bailey's in your area, isn't he? What a legend. So Paul is amazing. I got in touch with him before Christmas to connect him with some young school leavers for work, and all of those school leavers have jobs now. The other day I was down at Woolies down in Woodridge, and I met a person that I helped do his citizenship a decade ago, and he was collecting cans because he'd lost his job. Within 24 hours he had a job interview. He didn't secure it, but Paul's keeping on to it, and I just want to say thank you very much for the work that it's happening through Jobs Logan and the Mayor's task force. I just think it's giving people back dignity, and it's very much appreciated, so thank you.
Through the Chair, very much appreciate those comments. And yes, credit to Paul. He's such a great worker and so good at what he does. So please, for all councillors, if you engage with community members that do need assistance in the job market, feel free to reach out to us like Councillor Lane and the Mayor does quite regularly. So it's that. And on the scooters, I do have a meeting booked for us to continue to work with them and to make sure operating is the best that we can throughout the area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tate. Do you have any GB for us? Oh, wonderful. Enjoy your day. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Mayor Raven.
It's not for Tate, it's okay, you can keep walking, Tate. I just wanted to add, because as I was sliding through the slideshows, remembering things about the sister city trip, that both mayors from both cities said that they, because we've had these relationships for 30 years, it's a very long relationship. Never before had Logan come saying, we want mainly to focus on your businesses and your economic relationships with us. In fact, Hirikata was uncomfortable about it because they didn't know what to do because they'd never been asked to do it before. And I think that's what we've got to drive with every sister city trip is like, what businesses do you have? And then for us too, what businesses from Logan can we take and promote? Because they were saying, hey, this is the services we could sell to Logan, but we should have been reaching out saying, who wants to sell into Japan? Take the prospectus with us and we'll promote you overseas as well, because I think that'd be a huge benefit to local businesses.
Thank you, Mayor Raven. Okay, so that concludes. Sorry, Councillor Wilcox, sorry.
I've got a question for Mr Asnakar. Is that okay?
That's fine, yep.
Thanks. Sorry, before when we were in one of the other committees, I asked Andy Lee about dumping. Is all of the dumping now moved over to Andy Lee, or is it still somewhat with you? Because I was just curious to know about some of the data and that sort of thing, and hoping you might be able to provide it as well, to be able to provide us feedback. Especially at the moment, I have curbside collection in my area, and I spoke before and said, it's interesting to see how many people have still got TVs, mirrors and glass things out, even though we say don't put it out. So we're just wondering how much of that after curbside do we go and find dumped? Because it's very hard for people to fit, you know, TVs in their cars to take it to the tip once they don't work anymore. So I'm just wondering if we're going to see an influx, or if we've got any data on curbside, dumping and that sort of thing.
Through the chair. So I think the first question was, has all dumping transferred to transport operations? That would be nice, yeah, for me. No. So all illegal dumping collection removal is transport operations. If it's within the window of curbside cleanup, that's waste. So leading on to your next question about the non-compliant presentation, those who have a non-compliant, whether it's a TV or hazardous, they get a notice, so that didn't get picked up, please remove it yourself. So that should be removed yourself. If it stays there though, if it doesn't get removed, we'll do a sweep through and take it away. Because otherwise, if you leave it there, we know what happens. Yeah. Data. So, I mean, I can pull up some data around how many notices get issued for different divisions. Yeah, it'll be in the dozens, hundreds. Yeah.
Okay, I have Councillor Jeremiah followed by Councillor Lane. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question's for the acting director or head of department. New year, new town plan. There should be a proposal coming up to council about reforming the town plan and introducing a new one sometime this year. The expectation from the meetings last year is that the project timeline for that vote up in council will be somewhere in the middle of the year. Is this still on track in terms of the project goals that the department needs to check off on to get that vote up to council?
Through the chair, I would like to check that with the Economic Development and City Planning Manager, Councillor Jeremiah. I just don't have the most recent time frame expectations. I know that there's obviously, you know, the various state interest checks and the feedback when it came to the public consultation that's come through. So I'll take that one on notice, and I see the Mayor poised to also...
That's fine. So it would be great to receive a project update with a Gantt chart showing the dependency, showing what has the team worked on, and are we on track for this new town plan to at least be discussed by councillors. So on notice, that's absolutely fine.
Thank you, Councillor Jeremiah. Was that directly to that, was it, Mayor Raven? Okay.
Happy for the information to be provided. The Logan Plan Project Board got an update late last year, so we're not on track because we've got to respond to 4,000 submissions, and that's going to take a long time. I think the team calculated that if every member of the EDCP team that's involved in strategic planning did nothing but manage submissions, it would take nearly 6 months to respond to them all, and that's a conservative estimate. It could be longer. So they're looking at whether or not we redeploy resources from elsewhere, or even engage contractors to come in and help support them in that work, because we got great feedback from the community, but it's going to take time to go through that, and we can't move forward until we do that assessment. So that's the main thing that's slowing it up at the moment, but happy to get a full timeline provided to councillors so you can see it all. And that timeline's got a bit of variety. If councillors wanted to lean in and provide some extra funding to the team so that they could get more support, they could get it done quicker. But some of the responses are very detailed, like 80, 90-page submissions. Those take a long time to process for staff members. So, and that's good. That's what we want from the community, but it will take longer. That's the reality.
Thank you. And question for the acting head of department. It would be great to get a breakdown of that sort of trade-off that will be happening. Will it be worth investing more in the short term to get the submissions replied to get those submissions considered, to potentially include a lot of the good ideas in the department's proposal for the town plan versus what is the cost of using existing resources and making the project deadline go out. So getting some more comprehensive project updates about these sort of things going on would be great.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. I have Councillor Lane, followed by Councillor Bradley.
Thanks very much. Just going back to Councillor Wilcox's point, Mr Asnikar, I think one of the things that she was asking about was when curbside happens, is there correlating data gathered on illegal dumping post-curbside to reflect the non-pickup items, including large screen TVs, glass and other, that was what you were getting at? Yeah. So is it possible to just say, for example, 20 big screen TVs were informed they were non-compliant and 20 turn up in the local park? Do we drive data on that and feed that back as a result? I think that's where she was kind of going with it, and you're nodding your head. So we're just wanting to see the assessment of post-curbside for non-compliant items, whether they're just being dumped in local parks instead of being withdrawn from the roadside and taken to the dump properly or taken to a tech place. I think that's what we were chasing.
So through you, Chair, I'm not aware of any sort of cross-checking of notices that we put into letterboxes and then cross-checking that data against customer requests that have come in for, illegal dumping within the neighbourhood vicinity. I'm not aware that that exercise has been done. No.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. My hand went up when there were questions about the planning scheme, and I would like some more information. I think a number of us probably would, because in a report in the city governance it referred to going out publicly again for consultation. So that's news to me, and I think we need to be informed as councillors what's going on. And I believe the community have every right to be informed as well.
You want to comment?
So yeah, I'll commit to circling back to councillors once I've had an opportunity to get that information. Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you, councillors. Do you have any GB for us, Michael? No. Okay, lovely. All right. I now declare the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting of the 20th of January 2026 concluded at 12:11, and the City Lifestyle meeting will commence in 10 minutes at 12:21. Thank you.